I've been acting brand new ever since my last interview. I'm just saying. You can now refer to me as Ear Doctor PhD. You know what I'm saying? In case you don't know, this is BPM. This is the Remix Morning Show. Now, we got a good one today, so let me introduce you to your host. We got no other than Dr. Jared Ball and Jackie Lukeman.
Tell them, Jackie, they should have never gave you an interview with
God.
Cornell West.
Now he's just going to be insufferable. Oh, my God.
Excuse me? I didn't hear. I got a polo on now, some new glasses. Listen, it's different. It's different air up here.
I popped in the studio, Jackie, this morning. He said, yesterday's price is not today's price.
What the hell? Oh, my.
Matter of fact, I'm going to start coming in on this. Welcome out to...
Get your monocle on. Exactly.
Get my ass caught.
Get your ass caught. Go visit Roland Martin's store and get you an ascot.
Roland Martin's ascots will swallow his whole head up.
His stuff be fly though. Roland be sharp in them dashikis and them suits. And he got the fly press T-shirts. You know, you might learn something. You might learn some. Get you an ear doctor inscribed. You know, like a EYL pajamas. You know, get you some.
Let me work with his budget, and I'll definitely come through.
We getting there. We getting there. Shout out to the remixers, 30.7 subscribers, 30, you know, we catching them.
Yeah,
we gaining on them.
Very nice. I gotta admit, I gotta admit that Sundays was it was fantastic. It was really, really great. And I mean, I every time I hear Dr. West talk about his experiences, I'm always just like, what hasn't he done? What hasn't he done? Who doesn't he know? Like, just, you know, whether you agree with everything the man says politically or, you know, theologically or not, I don't think you can deny the breadth and the depth of his knowledge and his experiences. That was just a fantastic conversation about music. Y'all had me singing Hurry Up This Way Again for 2 days.
Yeah.
Man, his memory's like an elephant. Like, how do you remember all this stuff, dates, and it's crazy.
The musical stuff, though, that musical, like he was bringing out, I mean, the very deep references in the memory of the lyrics and the songs. I mean, it is impressive. And
I mean, he could sing too.
He did sing a little bit.
He could sing. I mean, come on, listen to this.
You see it? I mean, and then at night they singing "Every Little Bit Hurts" by Brenda. Every little bit hurts. Every night I cry, every night I sigh, every night I. Hey, that's the funk, brother. And I tell you.
When he hit that falsetto,
yeah,
the falsetto was like, wait now.
Yeah, it was a good time, and that's the whole thing about those conversations. It's to show the human side of people and see that they actually have a human side, you know, because music, like I say, you know, you ain't gotta believe it's a spiritual thing. It brings out a different part of people, so that's what those conversations is all about.
Yeah, no, that was great.
He enjoyed himself too. That was the other part that was so fantastic. Just to see how much he did enjoy himself in that conversation. That was great.
Be Blaze. So how was your weekend?
What did you do, Jared?
What did I do this weekend? Let me pull my calendar up because I don't even remember. What happened this weekend? Sunday before the Cornell West interview, as I talked a little bit about, I took my youngest and we went to the MLK, the new renovated DC MLK library.
Oh.
and saw the conclusion of the Making a Go-Go Band. So it was a showcase and an actual a competition of go-go bands. And shout out to RCA Band. Red Carpet Affair won. They won a $5,000 prize, and they get to open up at a big show on the 30th of this month. And then, of course, the feature was Backyard Band. And if you want to see any clips, you could check my Instagram. Got at least one good clip up there. It was great. I mean, it was. So did that, and I don't even remember what else happened. We did. I think wasn't there like a oh yeah, man, went to DC United soccer game. Took my daughter out again to back to a soccer game Saturday night, and we timed it perfectly. So I had told her on the way down. So we talk about like the whole anthem thing.
Mm.
I don't stand for the anthem. But I told her, and this is exactly what I told her. I said, but there's an increasingly hostile vibe out in the world. And I said, and I have to admit, I do not feel physically confident in the way I used to in my ability to withstand what would need to happen to defend both of us in a necessary, once upon a time, I would at least feel like I was good to go as the bodyguard. But, get a little older, so I told her, I said, so let's time it so that I don't want to put us in a situation where because we're not going to stand, but where we're seated and someone's going to say something and to you or put, I don't want to have I don't want to be the lightning rod that puts my daughter in danger is what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, let's time it out. And we timed it perfectly in terms of the parking, the walk, the concessions. So we got there. The anthem is playing as we're walking into the stadium. So there's no need to you know what I mean? There
You
was
already
no
standing.
but we're not standing for the anthem, and we're not taking a seat in a situation where we're putting on a protest and inviting some drunk whoever whatever, and there was plenty of them to say something. It is. I admit I was a little nervous. Because I do feel a very heightened level of security when I'm out with my children in particular. And I admit, as I'm getting older and feeling the age, I don't feel that I'm not as capable. You know what I mean? But oddly more dangerous. So that's the other thing. So it's like I'm but it was just on my mind. So it was the thought and just the vibe I'm feeling in the world today. Like I feel like people they waiting.
But
And
I guess
so
I'm
anyway.
I guess I'm spoiled. I don't go to too many events with white people. So it's even when they do have the flag, I mean, it's mad people sitting. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh, this is a regular thing now. But if I was to go into that environment,
And this is the
you
new
got to think
DC.
twice. Yeah, you got to think twice. Like all these drunk racist people waiting. Oh, you ain't gonna represent.
That,
And
like,
then you
hell no, I'm not. I'm
then
middle-aged and still insane, so I only have me to think about. So,
And
yep.
sure enough, somebody got a player got a beer thrown on him that night.
See,
So, and I already told you, we've talked about the Malice in the Palace. I talked about it with my children and everything. Like, if he had gotten up and walked up in the stands and started swinging on somebody, I'd have been like, hey, just let me get out the way. He's
Yeah.
right there. No, yeah. I mean, anyway, it was a good time. It was a good time. What about you, Jackie? What'd you get into this weekend?
I went to Ocean City, one of my
You did.
I cannot say that Ocean City is like my favorite beach. It's not. It's just the closest to
Right.
it's where I can get the heck away in the least amount of time, because I do kind of prefer Myrtle Beach. Because it's just, fewer kids, it's fewer teenagers. I'm so sorry, but it's just true. I'm that middle-aged person who
Word
cannot
up.
be on vacation surrounded
Word
by
up.
such damn kids.
Shut
I-
up! Tell it
I
down.
but the thing about Ocean City is, if Ocean City, you will have like the drunken yokels walking down the boardwalk, calling on the women to show their tits and shit like that. So it's just it's just like, but I timed it pretty good this year. The weekend after Labor Day, so most of the people had gone. There weren't a whole lot of kids, not a lot of people, not a lot of boats and parasailing and stuff in the ocean. So I got to see a bunch of schools of dolphins. So that was really nice, and it was just a good getaway, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to go back to the beach before this transplant surgery happens. But I had to get the hell out of.
You look peaceful in them pictures.
Yeah, it
Look
was
at-
it was great.
Well, good. So the clearly the theme of this morning is timing.
Impeccable
timing.
Timing.
Whether it's anthems or motorcycles, it's the timing. It's the S. You gotta time it.
Yeah.
Now, right on. And Coco, you right on. Everybody needs a beach day, whether you actually go to one or you just make one in your house. Throw some sand on the floor and turn off the phone. That's my beach day. That's how I do the beach. Throw some sand on the floor and turn off my phone.
Well, what does your wife say about the sand on her floors? What does she walk in the room like, Jared?
Well, I have my one 8x8 foot square. I got my corner of the house. That's you. So when you came over and you were in my little room, that's it.
Sand on
so
that
I could take
floor.
on that floor. I could take a little cup, and then I just sit and put my toes in it and get my little parasol cup, and I'm at the beach, and that's it. That's it.
He's sitting in the corner looking out a window.
Looking out the window. I put a beach on the green screen and put my sand and put my feet in the sand, and it's perfect.
Oh,
it's
my
perfect.
goodness.
No, because Ocean City, I do admit when I saw you went there, I have a PTSD from my own time in Ocean City. So every time I hear Ocean City, it just
Let me guess, drunken white people.
Oh yeah, because I was out there with your current Supreme Court justice, beach week in it. So I know exactly what was going on. No, anyway, what about you, Ear Doctor? What'd you get into?
I got into some things. I got to actually yesterday. Did the Black Man Lab, and this month is Suicide Prevention Month.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to talk about that with a bunch of brothers in the room. So it got kind of deep, kind of heavy. But it was good for people. A lot of these brothers don't get to express themselves. A lot of brothers ain't got a hug, told I love you. So it's deep, and I look at it on two different levels of not just suicide as in you killing yourself, but I wonder, is there a thing called social suicide? Whereas you're walking around somewhat like a zombie, you had an I don't care mentality. Anything can happen. So you go out, possibly you get locked up. I don't care. I can die. So it seems like that's almost a suicidal mind state to me. But even though you didn't kill yourself, by taking your life, but
there's definitely career suicide.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of career suicide, let's bring in no other than Kamal K. Franklin.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Oh boy.
I don't think that was.
You got a charge yet, man? How you doing, man? Yeah,
Look at that
I
shirt.
saw that. I saw that shirt.
Oh,
I saw
yes.
him on the. Where's that picture at? Who had that picture? There-
Oh, you mean this one right here?
yeah.
Oh,
Look at it. Oh, yes.
that's
I
right.
look like a creepy old man, Franklin.
He sure did.
I won't go say nothing about that.
Yeah. The one
That's my
that,
best pose.
the one that's too old to be in the club.
Oh.
Exactly. Which I discovered like on two occasions. I remember I was in a club and I was definitely in my 40s. And I was like, never again. Never again.
I had that exact moment. You look around and you like, wait a minute.
This don't feel right.
It's like the poker thing. If you can't identify the sucker, it's you. And if you can't identify the one that's too old in the room is you. I was like, oh shit. I was like, damn, they all young in here. I was like, let me slide up on out of here.
Like never again.
Never again.
Well, we gonna take a quick break, and please come out. Tell us about what's going on with the Cop City thing. Seeing you was out in the street and everything. We got a dope show. We got possible next president coming through around 9 o'clock, I believe.
We have all the presidents. So we had Cornel West Sunday night, and at 9 a.m. this morning, we're going to have Claudia De La Cruz and Karina Garcia come through, who might be our next presidents running on the PSL ticket. So you never know.
That's right.
You heard it here first.
I'm glad you pronounced them names. All right, we're going to come back right here with the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Make sure y'all hit that like button if y'all up in here. We need to get that like button hit. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you can know about all the shows and different things that's coming up and popping up. And speaking of popping up, pop on over to patreon.com and go to Black Power Media, become a member over there and get some extra content that we don't do over here. All right, with that said, I hope y'all had a great weekend. Let's go ahead and get straight to the weather report. Play a little something in the background while I do this. All right, so New Orleans. They started off with 90 degrees as they high. Big up to all my people down in New Orleans. Next, let's take it to Norfolk, Virginia, VA. They got a high today at 87. It's type hot around the DMV area recently. All right, let's take it to Akron, Ohio, to the Midwest. They got a high of 71 degrees. And then after that, let's go over to Denver. Speaking of Colorado, big up to that Colorado team. They did it again. Them Sanders boys are doing it. All right, they got a high today of 74. Next, let's take it to Sacramento, where my good brother Dr. Cornel West was raised. They got a high today of 87 degrees. And next, let's take it to Kingston, Jamaica. They got a high of 91. It's John Days out there, nice and warm. And last but not least, let's take it to the Congo, to the motherland or other land. They got a high today of 87 degrees. Now, that's pretty hot. I'll tell you what else is hot. This sister right here, this weekend, in case you did not know, Coco Gauff. She won the U.S. Open women's singles title, the youngest since Serena to do so. And she beat this lady, I don't know, I forget her name, but she looked kind of like this. And she did her thing. So big up to Coco for doing her thing this weekend. It was a great match. She came back and beat her. I mean, just wiped her off the map at the end, the last matches. So big up to that sister. It was good to see her father, her mother, the whole family unit, brothers and everything all working together. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take it back to no other than the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Yeah.
Right on. The Vera DeMilo, though. Come on.
Vera.
Come on, man.
She looked like her a little bit, man. You ain't see who's.
I saw it, but I mean, dang.
I mean, come on.
You rough out here. Speaking of Cocos, shout out to Coco Gauff, of course. But speaking of Cocos, our own BPM Coco is both has her show coming back today, 12 noon.
Nice.
And had to all 4 foot tall of her roll up on me and be like, yo, what you doing in my time slot, homie? What you got on my time slot?
Oh.
So my chapter breakdowns will be moved to 10 a.m. right after the remix because I messed up and missed the email about the returning of the schedule. And Coco was like, and I don't mess with subterranean.
She gave you that Bronx accent too. You got that Bronx
the whole
accent.
The whole thing is like, you know, it's with the Debo squeaking bike and everything.
I see that
rolling
chain.
up.
I see that chain your grandma gave you is missing.
Yeah, that's all kinds of stuff missing. I'm out here just broke. She left me my remix cup. It said, drink your coffee, fool, and start your show earlier. And then she rolled off.
She is the Bronx, the BX bully.
Yeah, I mean, she wrote. Yeah, I was like, "Woof, man." Anyway, no. So serious. All jokes aside, look forward to confronting contradictions. So we got a whole BPM morning. So
Let's go.
Nice.
as soon as we
Very
finish with the remix, I'll get into the chapter breakdown. It'll be shorter anyway, and then make room for Coco. Get plenty of time to get your lunch and your afternoon tea.
All right.
You know,
get to it, guys. I'll catch y'all next break.
sweet. Sweet.
So before we slap the map, because I don't want to put this into the actual news, but I
Yeah.
do want to start the news off because I got to give my is it bi-monthly? Is every 2 weeks? Is that bi-weekly? Or
Bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly. My bi-weekly Hickory Ridge Village Board report. Because last night, whoa boy, is like 5 people showed up, and all of them was ready to scrap last night. Everybody. It was the old Jew took the young black man and outside.
What?
I'm trying to tell you.
What is
He got up there. He read his 2-minute community comment, and then the brother said, "I know you was talking about me." And then the old man leaned over and whispered something, and then all I heard was the brother said, "You want to take it outside?" And the old Jew said, "Yeah." And him and his wife walked.
Damn. Damn.
And I just sat there like, I knew nothing happened. It was a few elevated words, and then everybody, yeah, I'm telling you, Hickory Ridge chose violence. You gotta be careful in these tree-lined streets. You gotta be careful out here. People,
Is it
Yes,
politics
happy
is
birthday,
war
Leonard
without guns and war
Yeah.
is politics with guns kind of shit?
Yeah,
Damn.
man. I was like, really? I said,
Wow.
okay. But yes, happy birthday, Leonard Peltier. Right on.
Absolutely.
Right
True,
on.
true.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the super chat. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know I
Why
am out here
the
fighting the
small showing though? Is it
It's-
just is it
Oh no, it's always that. I mean, there's the virtual option, so there are a good good number on. But and then it's the same, the fight over the Kimco Corporation ruling the development of the center and all of the attendant politics attached to people's arguments, and it was anyway. So, but I am out there fighting the good fight. I just want to let everybody know that they can feel confident as the world continues to turn. That there are those of us in these trenches,
true?
making sure that paths are properly mowed, and everybody has the latest on the newsletter about what's happening with the grass cutting and the lines being put on the soccer fields. Yes.
Speaking of
Did your
news,
HOA get y'all on I told y'all my HOA, which we're moving soon, so we won't have an HOA. But they fly a drone, which if I see a drone flying over, I just can't catch it. I'm like rocks, whatever. But they fly drones over to tell you if something is up with your chimney. They flew a drone
What?
in my neighbor's backyard to tell them about their trash. It started like a 2-year battle. They flew a drone. They tried to tell us like the paint was chipped in a certain area. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Don't be flying drones. Like, what is wrong with you?
We haven't caught up to that yet. And
No.
and I hope nobody's watching, because I know there's a couple people that would happily propose that at the next meeting. And I'm with you. Don't let me get it within range. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's coming down.
It's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I catch a
banana.
drone.
If you ever fly something around here, talk about take your trash, pick up your
Mm-mm.
what?
No.
That's too much. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You be
Anyway, ear
replacing
doctor.
that drone every month.
they making
Right.
sure- they making sure y'all slave quarters is kept straight.
They're like,
Pretty much.
we trying to keep these housing prices up.
God, I hate
That's
homeowners.
the underlying and they revealed themselves at the last meeting. There is this, and it's sometimes hard to suss out. Are you trying to stop the development because you don't want corporations running our environment, and you want to have a say in or are you really trying to stop the influx of them and the undercutting of property and this little enclave that has been carved out as a pastoral safe space among all the nightmares of capital and colonialism surrounding it? I mean, it is some, I don't know.
It's the latter. It's the latter.
it's
Except for the
for me,
colonialism part. They don't care about the colonialism part.
no.
No.
Yeah, they don't
They
really care
want that.
about
They're fine with the colonial.
Yeah, they're fine with colonialism.
Yeah.
They
Anyway,
just want to make sure property values stay up.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Well, since we're talking, we might as well tell us about Cop City. Come out, and then we'll get.
well,
into
slap the
the news.
map. I didn't want to.
Slap
I
the
didn't
map.
want. That's what I'm saying. I didn't want to. I wanted to carve out the real news, the heavy hitting news of the homeowners association, the
And then
village
get into
board,
the light stuff.
from the real stuff, from the other stuff. I didn't want to,
True.
separate. Yes. Welcome back, everybody, to the Remix Morning Show. And absolutely thanks to the remixers for reminding us that this is also the day that Biko was murdered in that cell in 1977 for participating in emancipatory journalistic endeavors and supporting Black consciousness and anti-colonial struggle. And only to be later commemorated in a horrible movie starring Denzel Washington. So, so yeah, definitely rest in power to Steve Biko, and happy birthday to Leonard Peltier, and free them all those good things. Good people, where are we with the news? Sister Erica has laced us.
Yes.
But I don't know if you all had something in particular that you were looking at and wanted to get us started with.
Since it's been asked, I can start off with a little
right, of
story
course.
on Cop City. So as folks may have heard, yesterday we decided to give in the petitions that we gathered, like over 116,000 petitions, or signatures were signed. We decided that after the appeals court had stayed a previous judge's order, which gave us an extra 60 days to collect, an appeals court stayed that order and put everything on hold. But it was a 2-line sentence that they used. So it's important because I'll come back to it, that as opposed to gathering more signatures, since we already had enough at the first deadline, which was August 21st, and we're going to use our extended deadline until the middle of September to continue collecting. But in the middle of that, again, the appeals court stayed the judge's decision that gave us the extra time, that we would decide to give in the petitions that we collected. And so, we had a press conference in front of City Hall. We gave the petitions in. And then the city hit us with the city of Atlanta refused to begin verifying the petitions. And I used a story written in the Guardian to say more, to put the city of Atlanta has refused to begin counting the verifying petitions signed by about 116,000 registered voters to put on the ballot the question of whether a controversial police and fire department training center known as Cop City should be built. The move was backed by a legal memo from lawyers hired by the city, citing an active court case after dozens of activists and Atlanta residents delivered the petitions to the clerk's office at City Hall. So a little bit on that. So the city, as we were giving in the petitions to the clerk's office, handed down a memo which said exactly that they would not begin the verification process, and they are supposed to take 50 days after we give in the signatures to verify, which means to go through the signatures and say this person who signed is this person. And then the controversy over that has been they've been trying to use very voter suppression close tactics and tools, which the Democratic Party had previously sued to have the Republican Party not use. And those tools are what they call exact match, making sure each column is the same as each column filled out, and then they throw out the petition if that's the case, or signature match, which means someone literally stands there and looks at one signature and looks at another and says, oh, this is not the same signature or whatever. And then they use that as a basis for throwing out. So the city is literally committing itself to trying to use those tactics. But in this particular case, what they also tried to do was to use the stay, a two-line stay, which said nothing about the counting of votes or the verification of votes, as their rationale for why they would not begin to count votes. And so they put us in limbo in terms of what would come next. Are they going to count votes or are they not going to count votes? We're going to go back into court. Trying to show this picture here. We're going to go back into court starting tomorrow to sue the city for its antics. So I wanted to show this quick video. All right. This is literally the petitions being delivered in City Hall.
Wow.
So that was another powerful moment that was captured. We think the city is again making itself, showing itself, I should say, to be the undemocratic city that all these cities are, right? As soon as someone calls them on their bluff of saying, okay, you believe in democracy, let's have the people decide. Let's have a form of democracy. We collected double the amount of signatures that we were supposed to collect. You didn't even think we'd collect even the 58,000. By doubling the amount of signatures that were collected, we collected more signatures than people who actually voted for the current mayor. In fact, we collected more signatures than people who voted in the entire election for the mayor of Atlanta 2 years ago. But when you call their bluff and say, let's have this democratic process, they do everything they can to stifle, stop, either going through court or making up rules that don't apply, because they really don't want people to participate in any sort of democratic process. They want you to shut up, of course, be consumers, let them run the show, let them run the city, let them decide how resources are distributed. And so we've continually not done that, right? We've continually done the opposite and said, you don't get to make the decisions because really you're aligned with corporate and development interest. And so this fight continues, but yes, there was a big day in terms of the referendum side of the struggle, as folks know, which I'm sure we covered a week ago. RICO charges were handed down for people who were previously arrested, for the most part. So people who are facing domestic terrorism charges also have RICO charges now, 61 people and others who have been previously arrested. And then the day after, this to show how big, bold, and bad a lot of these folks are, folks did a demonstration at Cop City, going through the site and having a stop work order, and 5 or 6 people who also took arrests, knowing that the risk was that they could also get RICO charges, they could also get domestic terrorism charges. It was an action led by clergy members, and they all took arrest to stop Cop City from moving forward. So the movement continues in different ways, different tactics, different strategies, and it's something that's still being lifted up and still being fought. So folks should know that.
Wow. Just I and I gotta thank you, Kamal, for I'm really glad this platform exists, because if it didn't, I don't think we would get the kind of in-depth play-by-play things that are really going on in Atlanta with this completely and wholly undemocratic process. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not surprised, but it's like, yo, y'all are just gonna do this like out in the open like that, So it's, I appreciate that we're able. I hate that this is happening, but at the same time, I appreciate that we are able to see it happening in real time, so that we can disabuse ourselves of this idea that Black mayors are good for Black people, that, the progressive means anything in the political economy in this country when it comes to working class and poor people in the police state, and that democracy is a sham
Mhm.
in this country. It does not. We don't live in a democracy, y'all. So
So,
I really appreciate all of the behind the scenes, and it just, ooh, Lord.
yeah, right on. And Kamal, while we're on it, some of the discussion is about the tactic of the charges being that the state uses. But could you say a little bit about to the extent that the tactic is effective? Like, what happens when people are put under these RICO charges? Even if, as some have suggested, this is just a tactic and there's no actual desire by the state to really go through with it. I don't really
Yeah.
know, but even in that, as that tactic, what actually happens when they suffer these charges? Yeah, why
In
would
this
it be
particular
effective?
instance, what because all of these folks, well, some of this we're still trying to figure out for sure, but all of these folks who've been previously charged, again, from domestic terrorism charges to there's folks who are with the Atlanta Bail Fund who are also charged in the RICO conspiracy. There are other people who had lesser charges who are part of it. So everybody who had previously been arrested and has now the additional charge, which means that they may be called back in. So they may all have to, and a lot of them are out of state, because remember, part of the tactics of the city has been when they've stopped people, they literally have checked IDs. And if you're from Atlanta or from Georgia, at times they've let you go. And if you're out of town, they've arrested and charged you because it fits into their narrative of, quote unquote, the outside agitator, right? So now they've also put these folks in positions of having to literally come back to Georgia, otherwise face a potential bench warrant, to be recharged on these additional charges, and then to have a new amount of bail set in addition to the bail that was already set. And
But
then
of
to have
course, they include with that a stipend for the travel and the hotel, right? That oh
I think they left that. That was left out of the
okay
indictment. That was left out of the indictment. I'm sure it was a
okay.
mishap. So there's also the possibility that they may have just strict consent bonds and have the lawyers get them to sign off and not have to come in. But I think that's all being negotiated behind the scenes. So, and again, what it means is that the other folks who also got charged are people who were distributing flyers. The cops that killed Tortuguita, some organizers went into, and this became public information about the name of the cops. It was released through public records requests. So the names of the cops and their information became public. Organizers went into the town that they lived and started just giving out flyers and said, "Do you know these cop killers, or no, these killers of these cops who are killers who killed Tortuguita live in these communities. Folks should know that." Those folks were arrested and charged with domestic terrorism. And now they've also been charged with RICO charges for giving out flyers with the names of the cops. So basically, what is supposed to be a First Amendment protected free speech right, supposedly, of voicing your opinion and putting out information and making an accusation, right? There's nothing that says you can't make an accusation. They've also been rounded up and charged. And so we don't know whether or not going forward, what it will be outcome of trials, right? But, what we should do is, I should be prepared to do this, is we should go over the indictment, because the indictment is really hilarious, because basically, one, it tries to pin everything on an anarchist ideology as the forebearer of what is bringing about the anti-Cop City protest. Two, is trying to say a certain bunch of anarchists are the leaders of the protest movement. Three, is tying mutual aid and other acts of organizing as part of the conspiracy. And then the fourth and biggest one is that they named the starting date of the conspiracy to be the date that George Floyd was killed by the police. That
Mhm.
is when they say the criminal conspiracy started. That was 7 to 8 months before anybody knew anything about Cop City. None of us knew about Cop City. So they're literally saying the day that people started to fight back against police brutality, police violence, police terror, or new energy, let's say, was put back into the movement because of the murder of George Floyd. That day, then people started being getting back out in the streets was the day that the criminal conspiracy started. So that's an amazing sort of attribute to say that the movement started not when Cop City started, but
Mhm.
when the re-energized masses of people got back out into the street, is when the criminal conspiracy started. And so again, with these domestic terrorism charges, the idea is that if they are successful in convincing a jury that the actions of the one-off actions, which have happened in various places but have not been the majority of the tactics used, but the one-off action of burning a tractor, right? That a criminal act of that nature, which they already have, there's criminal laws against if somebody wants to get charged with that, but that something like that can now be tied to everybody and anybody within the Cop City movement. So whether or not you're giving out flyers, whether or not you're doing a referendum campaign, whether or not you're doing public rallies or demonstrations or town halls, your mere association with the movement, and not just obviously the Cop City movement, but now the movement against police terror in our communities, right? That could be enough to tie you to future RICO charges under the state's theory of the criminal enterprise that's underway. So that is the the new thing that's now hanging over people's heads, that no matter what you do, your potential charge could be a racketeering charge because you are associated with people trying to stop Cop City from happening.
Wow. So yes, one comment pointed out that Kamal does a good job of giving this overview on Black Myths podcast. I did watch this DC Joe Black. I just saw it early this morning. FD Signifier's new piece, "Fuck the Police," does a good bit on this as well, and includes what I think is really the new big crisis that we have on this platform. Includes an interview with 2 Black, who is now the new Kamau in not repping BPM on other platforms. So we do have that additional concern.
But let me stop you.
Yeah,
Guess
go
what
ahead.
platform I was on yesterday?
Where were you? Where did you come out?
Oh
Where did you
boy.
go?
Oh no.
It was
What did you
shaky.
do? What?
It was shaky. It was shaky because I had to. I was. It was like I was in City Hall, right? And then there's this one sister who's connected to the, like, I would call them, like, the celebrity activist that we always talk about. So she was like, "Jump on. Sean King wants to interview you on Cop City."
Oh God.
Oh, no.
So in my BPM attire, I went on. He was a nice guy. But I was just all through it. I was just going like, "Wow," in my head. Like in your head, you're going like when I did the Roland Martin thing, I was like, "Wow." Then there was like another wow. Then I was supposed to go on Tamika Mallory's thing. They're doing good job.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not disparaging in terms of, like, these folks have huge platforms and they're putting the word out. So, all power to them. But it was also it's a little like, okay.
Yeah, this is
Can somebody else do this?
in all seriousness, I think I've been talking about it with a couple folks offline. To me, that dovetails with seriously a major, I think a major concern or increasing concern for me, or refocus on this concern for me, which is this everybody's talking about everything, and a lot of the issue is how is it being framed and where do we get invited to go. So like even in that FD signifier piece on Fuck the Police, he keeps making reference in positive ways to the film The 13th, and includes clips from Van Jones, and it's not that, and it's the video's good, but it still has that tinge of, we're getting this popular analysis, not from him per se, but from the 13th in particular, from people who really, they're not interested in any radical intervention here. So that's the issue. So when you're getting interviewed, like you got to do it. Like I get it. Like you can't. I don't know how to walk through those raindrops, especially in the moment you're doing the work that you're doing, but I get it, and I could see it being an issue, like in your head, being like, wow. And I guess well done that you were able to overcome it, because I can see that because it's like because every once in a while I've been in a position like that, and you're like, damn, and I don't get over it. So my interviews usually suck because the wall just sits right in front of me, and I'm just looking at it like, damn, this is some fugazi, and I can't. But no, anyway, so I don't know exactly what to do. So to Jackie's point, I am glad BPM exists in part because we have a chance to come here. And I do think you should come back and bring that indictment.
Oh, yeah.
And we should get a little reading of it at some point. Maybe if you got time this week, we could do it on the remix or whatever. But it would be, because when I read the one that went out against O'Malley and them, I mean, it's insane. And then it's like, does somebody really believe, or does everybody involved in putting this together know how ridiculous this is? Or does somebody in the process, like, do you really believe that O'Malley and them were using this local race in St. Petersburg to start the Russian overthrow? Like, are you serious? And I mean,
yeah. That's when you read this indictment, it's very similar. It's just like,
it's ridiculous once you get past all the signature pages and all that kind of stuff, and you get to the actual meat of the indictment, the very first thing that hits you is how they define certain terms that we use all the time, like collectivism and mutual aid and solidarity. And I'm sitting there reading this like, did this come straight from like some retired CIA agent who was sitting in an outpost listening to Russian intercepts from the Cold War? Because that's what that is what it sounds like. It is serious. It is a mess. It's
right.
And you go like in your head, you go like, these are adults. These are supposed to be well-read, somewhat sophisticated.
Come out.
The lawyers, the attorney general for a whole state. Right. And this is what you put out. And you stand up there and talk about it like it's like some real shit. Like it's not like some surreal happening in some bizarro world. They read it as if this is to be taken with the utmost. Every time every time you hear Donald Trump talk, and you go in your head, you're like, does somebody take this shit seriously? Seriously? Does
he take it seriously?
Exactly. Does he take it seriously?
Right. Okay, so I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something a little bit controversial. Because this indictment is based on Georgia's RICO law, and Georgia's RICO law, and Kamal, correct me if I'm wrong, Georgia's RICO law is based on the federal RICO law, but it's different in that Georgia's RICO law basically it can be anything. It can be anything. Prosecutors can charge people with RICO offenses, even if those things that they have not done on their own are not actually crimes, would not be considered. So as long as a prosecutor thinks, oh, well, these two people have done these two things that are not illegal, but they did these two things in furtherance of whatever this
criminal conspiracy
illegal thing is, then it's a RICO charge, right? Which is really dubious. It's dubious as how are you going to claim that separate things that people do that are not crimes are all of a sudden crimes when you say they do them in coordination with each other. And if that's what this RICO charge is, I'm gonna say it, people not gonna like it. But if that's what this RICO charge is, y'all should be looking at that indictment against Trump really skeptically. Not because he's innocent, but because Georgia's RICO statute is garbage. And
It's
I
extremely broad. The other funny thing is, I mean, we'll get back to your point, is that the grand jury that indicted Trump is the same grand jury that indicted the Cop City folks on RICO charges. And so basically, as opposed to the county DA in Fulton County who indicted Trump, when she was done, the AG's office then presented a case in front of that same grand jury, and that same grand jury indicted the folks with the RICO charges. And this hence goes back to the idea of prosecutors being able to indict a ham sandwich, right? So anytime we hear about how a grand jury came back with a no vote or decided to not indict, particularly when it comes to these cops who kill our folks, realize that it is the prosecutors who present the evidence, who put on the testimony, who control the actual grand jury process, that they've basically thrown the grand jury. They've basically muddled the information so much to make sure that the grand jury does not indict. They've telegraphed to the grand jury that we really don't believe a crime has taken place, right? Because grand juries are controlled by the prosecutors. And since they are controlled by the prosecutors, they know they are basically able to walk out and walk in extremely confident on their ability to get charges or to get the grand jury to indict individuals. So it is clear in a lot of cases when we come back and we hear the grand jury didn't indict these cops for killing such and such and such. That's really because the prosecutors have purposefully done such a piss-ass job in presenting the evidence that they did not want the indictment to happen. So it is literally true that a ham sandwich can get indicted because the prosecutions, whether the state, county, or city, whatever level it is, they are completely controlled by prosecutor offices in terms of what happens in terms of getting these charges.
So Kamal, didn't the two indictments, Trump's indictment and the Stop Cop City indictments, didn't they come out of different
They
jurisdictions?
announced them at different times.
Okay, so it was the same grand jury.
It's the
even
same grand
though
jury.
One
The same, yeah.
was
They just
in
announced
Fulton
it. They just
County.
timed the announcement. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
I just and Fannie Willis and her black teacher indicting behind. I'm never gonna let go of that. With what? What did she indict those black
RICO
teachers with?
charges. Yes.
Yep.
RICO. Yeah. So it's just like a catch-all thing that prosecutors can just pull out their pocket when they want to get, and like you said, indict different people or frame it in such a way to suggest that everybody's working towards a single end, which is to further a so-called criminal conspiracy of some kind. And so again, people who are doing the referendum process, who are apparently, who are trying to involve, let's say, masses of people in Atlanta in the idea of voting down this project, right? Somebody, use the so-called democratic process, which is presented to us. Those folks under this theory can be indicted for furthering the criminal conspiracy of attempting to stop the building of Cop City.
Ugh. Democracy in action, right?
Erica gave us this story that is somewhat relevant. We don't know for sure how true it is. We haven't fact checked everything, but apparently this is a new Georgia State Trooper unmarked semi truck. So
what the hell are they going to do with that?
I don't know. I don't know.
What in the world?
But this, I'm sure they'll figure that out at the Cop City training facility.
That's true.
I don't know. But I but again, every time I think about the distribution or maldistribution of resources, and and you see stuff like this, and then you flick the channel, flip the page, and somebody in Georgia there or elsewhere is going to be, well, we don't have money for your school or your housing or your health care, but we have this new
Exactly.
Superfly undercover police patrol semi.
Mhm.
Now we can really stop crime.
Now we can really stop crime.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now you in trouble. All you criminal elements out there.
So really quick, because you brought this up, I know we're going to take a break soon. The so the other like you guys might have covered this, and I sent that story last week about the Fulton County Commission person who.
Yeah, what was?
So I was going to go on the ship, but basically that was the woman who was a commissioner for Fulton County Court had an affair, and the affair was exposed because they broke up, and he sued her because she fired him, and he sued her, exposing all the. So when that woman was singing about they had sex or like on the furniture, all that was in his court papers about the fact that they were doing it in the office. So she was basically going through his civil case against her. She is not resigned, so, and she gave him a big raise at the time. So that was just too hilarious to ignore. But I was going to bring up the fact that the sheriff of Fulton County, who talked about how Trump was treated the same as anybody else when he was indicted. And as he's explaining this, he's talking about how he personally oversaw his booking procedure. Like, when does the actual sheriff oversee? And how they rushed paperwork to his Secret Service detail and to his car so he can get out much faster, kind of things. Like, so this is what you think is, you have people literally dying in Fulton County Jail every day. It is now the most dangerous jail in the country in terms of the amount of people who've been dying in Fulton County. So you have time to personally walk Trump through his booking process, but you can't fix the goddamn jail. You can't do anything about the jail. And of course, he doesn't want to, because he's got his own graft that he gets from the jail. And I think I might have done this story already, where he was giving his wife contracts, and they got an extra $83,000 because of his reelection campaign, giving her contracts to her business to help him with his reelection campaign. So the graft is widespread, and the silliness and just the upside down nature of how both city, state, and national politics works is always clear to be seen, and we just need folks to continue to expose it and fight against it. So,
but you want to sit up here and begrudge this good sheriff his PR campaign as he gets to perp walk Trump through to whatever and get his camera time and his fundraising opportunity so that he could do better policing. Come on now, shame on you. Sometimes I'm real disappointed in this platform. Man.
And the new proposed $2 billion jail that they're asking for to replace their current jail.
Billion with a B.
With a B, $2 billion jail.
I'm doing something wrong in my life.
I took
my
all
next
the wrong
relationship
choices.
has to be with somebody I can grift with.
You know what I'm saying?
I can't be working for a living like this.
You know
This
what
is
I'm
too much.
saying?
I know, the grift is real. The grift is real.
I went in all the wrong lanes, all the wrong directions.
Speaking of people who don't work for a living.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much. You did it for us.
I know. I was like, damn, y'all ain't do that transition. Well,
The real problem is because I didn't see you popped up in the background because I saw our guest pop up. So I didn't see you.
They're much better
you weren't on my
visuals than
screen.
me.
Yeah, it also moved everything on my screen, so I couldn't. My bad. I didn't even see you was ready. But definitely better visuals on top of
whatever. Hey, I gotta watch who I hang around. I can't be DJ for anybody. I might get caught on a RICO. It's crazy out here.
In Atlanta, you sure can.
That's right.
All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We're gonna come back with our superstar guest right here on No Other Than the Remix Morning Show. Yeah. Welcome out. This is the Remix Morning Show. We'll turn that down a little bit. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and please hit that like button, subscribe button if you are new to the channel, and go to patreon.com and get some more content over there and become a member. All right, with that said, let's do a quick break. Now, what kind of break did I want to do? Something quick. Like, you remember when I do, damn, I heard that before. Let's do that real quick. All right, so with that said, let me take you to a place in time, which is 1993. This was on a...
Lyrics to go. Lyrics to go.
That's right. Midnight Marauders, Lyrics to Go by a Tribe Called Quest, as you can hear right here.
Lyrics to go.
You hear that right there? All right, well, you want to hear it again? Let's hear it again. Let me take you back to 1971. This is no other than James Brown off his album Show Is Funky, Down Here. Now, check this out. Ah, there it is. So we go back here.
Lyrics to go. Lyrics to go. Lyrics to go.
So that is where you heard it before. James Brown back in 1971 all the way to 1993 with Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, Lyrics to Go. All right, now it's time for us to go right back to no other than the Remix Morning Show. So let's go. Go.
The drum sensation. Mind is a bit of different information. Microphone is on, so I cross communication.
Yeah.
Love that
Right.
that classic material. Classic material.
True.
Yeah, we talked about that Sundays. If y'all ain't catch that, with
That's right. Y'all had Cornell on.
Even Kamal can't front on that. Even Kamal can't front on that. And yeah, and definitely go check it out if you missed
Yeah.
It
it.
was
Like
good.
Kamal.
Good. I watched it.
Yeah. You ain't watched Jack.
watched
Anyway, I catch you.
Why
We're gonna have to
you
get. We're gonna have to get
always
another.
lying? It's like
We're gonna have to bring somebody else probably from the Bronx and have a musical interview with them too. I don't know. Let's think about it. So who we can find from the Bronx that might be taking the trip to
Making
like,
connections.
you know what I'm
Making
saying?
look
All
at
right.
you making connections.
Let me get out of here. I'll catch you on next break. Peace.
Peace.
all right, everybody. Let's as we get ready for our next guests. My suggestion is, I guess we're going to take a quick transition break, and then I think we should come back and hear from their campaign promo, and then we will hear from the candidates themselves.
Suggests the U.S. economy is slowing down.
The Roe reversal is setting off ripple effects as states implement abortion bans.
Another train derailed outside Detroit today.
The number of Americans living without homes, in shelters, or on the streets continues to rise at an alarming rate.
Does it ever feel like the political system is working against us? Like regardless of who we vote for, the outcome is always the same? We're told this country is a democracy, but more and more it feels like a corporate regime. No matter which party is in power, only the rich ever come up on top. Today, the richest 1% own more wealth than the bottom 90% of Americans combined.
On top of that, heat waves, floods, and hurricanes are becoming a regular occurrence. Artificial intelligence is threatening to replace millions of jobs, and the threat of World War III is more serious than ever. Humanity is facing nothing short of an existential crisis, and what do the two parties offer us? Culture wars meant to divide us, and breadcrumbs disguised as solutions that come nowhere near meeting the scale of the problem.
Let's just say what we all know deep inside. Career politicians and real estate moguls are never going to save us. Corporate America has two parties. Shouldn't the working class have at least one? I am Claudia de la Cruz.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
And we're running for the President and Vice President of the United States on the ticket of the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
We're not career politicians, and we don't have billionaire friends. We're educators, community organizers, and mothers.
You don't need to tell us that the working class makes this country run. I'm from the South Bronx, and we know what hard work looks like.
I know this country wouldn't last a day without the working class. So isn't it about time that we take charge?
This campaign is for all of us living paycheck to paycheck or working multiple jobs. For all of us who are sick of watching the rich get richer while we can't even pay our rent.
We don't just want to tax the billionaires. We want them out of power entirely. We need to seize big pharma, seize big tech, seize the big banks instead of letting them run our government. We need an economy that puts the people before profit, an economy built to generate prosperity for everyone, not just a handful of billionaires.
This campaign is not a one-time thing. We're running to build a political organization that finally gives voice to the working people of this country. It's time to stop going around in circles while the elites change places every 4 years. We think this country deserves a better option, a socialist option.
Suggests the U.S.
All right, everybody. And wait, what happened? Sorry. Claudia, Karina, welcome to the Remix Morning Show.
What up, familia? Thank you for having us.
I'm amped. Every time I see the promo, it works. I'm ready to pull the levers and do all of the things. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the background of this campaign and how did it come together and what do we need to do? How is this going to work? Are you all going to like all this stuff? Can we get into all like? Is there going to be ballot access? What is the actual goal? All of those things that activists and potential voters always want to ask people, particularly who are not sanctioned by the billionaires and the dominant parties. They always, what are you doing this for? Are you a spoiler? All those kinds of things. So please introduce us further, if you would, to the campaign.
I'm really excited to be back. I love being with y'all. It was really good to see Kamal in Atlanta 2 weeks ago for the Socialist Horizon conference that we held. We missed you, Jared. Jackie, I know you were out there getting some sun in Sam's, and so I appreciate that too. I think one of the things that we want to be able to acknowledge is that in comparison to several years, I think one of the responses that we got from the Socialist Conference that we held in Atlanta was that it was very difficult to be able to speak about socialism and actually gather the number of people that we did in the space, and have folks come ready to listen about socialist futures and values and politics. And we're living in a context that's very different than a decade ago, where people are ready. Sometimes I think we undermine just how ready people are to change their conditions. And we, as organizers or as people in organizations, kind of downplay just how ready folks are to be engaged and activated in transforming society from the roots. And so we understood that it was necessary for us to be able to intervene in this electoral process, because it's a process that people speak about over dinner. It's a process that people tune into in the news. Even if folks don't go and vote, they are exposed to the electoral process. And so we wanted to bring a message and also wanted to let people know that it is possible to transform this society, to transform and move this country from a capitalist, brutal, violent country into a socialist society that actually races and puts at the core and front and center the conditions and interests of the working class. More than ever, we see it with the strikes. We see it with just the level of discontent that people have. And we don't want people to go into isolating themselves. We don't want people into thinking that they're having these problems of not being able to pay rent, of having to make the decision between going to work or paying for gas or paying for food as something that is their problem. This is a problem that is it's a global problem. of capitalism. It's not the deficiencies of the working class. And we need to build the confidence of people to understand that. And so this is a mass outreach campaign. It's a mass education campaign. It's a campaign, again, to contribute in building the confidence of the working class. And beyond the feeling and emotional piece is also to build an alternative political instrument of the working class. You know, there's a lot of talk, people talk about just how irrelevant third parties are, or how irrelevant a political organization is. But the reality is that in history, there has never been anything won by the working class that has not had some sort of political organization or political vehicle. And so we are trying to build a socialist political organization that doesn't only show up every 4 years, but that is present with the people, that is accompanying the people and is emerging from the people's struggles and desires on the day-to-day basis. And we're just excited to be able to be in conversation with folks. I'm like Karina, because I could talk forever, but
no. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, too, there's millions of people out there right now that are identifying as socialists, and among young people especially. And so we're trying to reach out to those people and connect with them and say, you don't have to, you're not alone. We need to build organization. There's no shortage of movements or of protests or uprisings. Like, there's a lot of protests that happens in this country, and the thing that's missing is a political organization to be able to unite the different movements together, to be able to be the force that actually we deserve. Why should these tiny group of people be making all the most important decisions in our lives, and the people who actually make this country run have no say? We're supposed to just stand on the sidelines. We're supposed to just be quiet. We're supposed to just wait and watch them do whatever it is that they're doing. And we're saying, no, like, it is the time, it's past time, and we're trying to build a political organization. And so we think that this campaign, instead of us being quiet on the side, like, we're going to speak up and we're going to try to meet those people who want to fight and keep going and keep organizing. So we're excited about this campaign. And of course, we view it differently from just like some individualistic thing where, there's some part of politics that's just repulsive, that we just don't even want to be a part of in some ways. But we're not doing it in that vein. We're doing it in the vein of the civil rights movement, of the abolitionist movement, of labor movement, of all the organizing. And we're using this to build, to educate, and to connect with all those people out there who are not alone.
Now, so let's there's another competitor in the race. And we've had that competitor, Cornel West, on the platform a few times. So I'm curious about, and I bring it up because politically speaking, that person may be the person who is most closely aligned politically with some of the similar positions I'd assume that y'all take. And you guys have done a great job of sort of keeping this under wraps, right? So folks like me are outside, had no idea until boom, the video dropped or whatever. So I'm assuming this has been planned for a little while. So I have a sort of a two-part question. What is the impact when you knew that sort of a Cornel West figure had entered the race? And did that play any role in terms of you guys deciding to and or not to enter the race? And then two, what is the difference? So why should, if I'm a lefty and I want to use my vote as a vote that is going to be against the dominant parties, why should I choose you over the Green Party / Cornel West at this particular time? So what's the difference in the campaigns around your ideas, or what makes your run different than someone else who's considered an outsider as in a Cornel West?
I mean, I could start. I think at least I was happy, and the party was also expressing a lot of enthusiasm for having someone like Cornel West run as a third party. We have a long history of collaborating with Cornel West. We have a lot of respect for him. And as you mentioned, Kamal, like, there is a significant difference that I'm happy to speak about, and I know Karina's happy to speak about as well. And one of the biggest differences is that we are under the discipline of a socialist political party. We're not individuals. And the socialist political party is one that doesn't show up every 4 years, is one that does work every day on the ground, that has a presence, that is working with communities and comes from working class people. And that's a huge difference. It's, we live in a society that uplifts individuals, and it's very easy for folks to get co-opted into becoming celebrity movement activists without having organization or a project to be accountable to, without having a community to be accountable to. I've been doing organizing work, like I mentioned earlier, sometime while I was here, the many times I was here, since I was 13 years old, and never has it been outside of an organization. Never has it been outside of a space that I am accountable to a group of people for what I say and what I do. Never outside of a collective discussion to be able to make a decision. And that's a huge difference. We're doing this to build that type of organization. We think it's extremely important to have as many groups outside of the corporate duopoly run. And we're very excited to see Dr. West run, because it is true. We have a lot of alignment in a lot of things. We are, though, running explicitly as socialists, explicitly within the Party for Socialism and Liberation, with all of its history from the 20 years that it has working on the ground and building not only nationally, but also internationally. And it's something that I mean, speaking for myself, I know, Karina and I've been working for over a decade together in organizing in New York City and nationally, and now internationally as well. The party has, in a lot of ways, shaped and molded and allowed for political growth that I could not have been able to do that individually. And so I think it's important to be able to raise that, because when we exist in a country that tries to divert young people from becoming political within political organization, that's extreme mistake. That's a huge mistake we make. And so for us, it's a slight difference, but it's a significant difference that we need to be able to point out. So
can I just say that I love that answer? Sorry to interrupt. I just love that answer.
I thought the same thing. I was like, that was a very good.
That was very dope. What does that say? Oh, right. Let me hold up, Jackie. Hold up. So hold that up again. I didn't even get to see that. Right. Let's hold it up again. Hold it up higher. I can't see it. Oh, let's fucking go. Right. Exactly. Right on. No doubt. That was and I will say, just even have, like, I really do appreciate the PSL structure and policies, even as admittedly, personally, I ran into its wall, and I appreciated the logic behind it. I mean, so I really love that answer. I mean, I hope people. I hope it. Yeah. Sorry. Let me stop. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Who wanted to jump in? Go ahead.
I mean, first of all, let me say that when I saw the announcement that you, Claudia, were stepping down, taking a leave of absence from the People's Forum, my trauma brain was like, "What happened to Claudia?" So I'm like waiting, and I didn't want to call you because I didn't want to get in your business. And then this announcement comes out, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So this is, I think, extremely important in a moment where I think people in this country are finally hurting enough that socialism makes sense.
That's right.
And I hate to frame it that way, but I really do think that's the truth, that socialism becomes a legitimate alternative for people because this government that has demonized socialism and communism for decades, people are seeing that this government isn't doing anything for them. So they're like, well, I don't know why these people hate socialism and communism so bad. It can't be worse than what's going on here. So it is great to have a campaign that is specifically, explicitly socialist, to be able to explain to people what socialism is, what socialism isn't, and to broaden people's horizons. But I think that we are kind of facing also a very weird and confused moment on the left, where where I don't think we understand solidarity. Like, we believe that there are things that don't matter to us that we shouldn't be talking about because they don't happen to us. Like, I'm seeing people on the left talk about, well, we can only talk about economic issues because that's what we all suffer from that. So let's not talk about these LGBTQ plus issues, and let's not talk about abortion, and let's not talk about white supremacy. And how do you confront that kind of narrative, Karina, in your campaign when you're talking to people about what really unites us and why people should be interested in socialism and why people should be interested in you?
Well, I think that we talk about this whenever we're organizing. It's really building trust, which is the foundation of everything that we're trying to do. It happens through experiences and through struggle, most importantly, through struggle. And so for us in our practice as organizers for the last 20 years that we've been with organizing, it's always been about connecting and linking different struggles and helping to link up and raise a consciousness about how these different struggles are connected. And so, some people would criticize us in the PSL for being part of this and that and going all these different directions. But for us, it's not all these different directions. For us, it's uniting all of the forces who are in motion, who are fighting against capitalism. And that happens in struggles against police brutality, that happens in attacks on immigrant rights, that happens in the struggle for abortion access. And what we're doing, that political education that Claudia was talking about, that's the element that's missing in so much organizing, that some people are taught to just think of things in a single issue way, or are sort of like, because of all the anti-communism in the society, sort of not wanting to be part of a collective, not wanting to be under a discipline, under an organization, and just be kind of moving individually or commenting on this and that. But we're actually part of an organization where this is part of our membership requirements, and we have to sort of understand and build the trust with our members, the people in our community, the other organizers that we're interacting with. And so you can only really do that. You can only really build that trust through struggle, through organizing. That's where you really learn who people are, when you're standing in front of a police line next to them, when they're out. A lot of things are overcome. Like, workshops are important. That's where you can sort of elevate and think about your practices. But when you're standing next to people in demonstrations and you don't know what's going to happen, those are your comrades, the people who are facing off with you. And so that combination of practices is what's so important. But those things are not just built individually, going from protest to protest. Those are built through being part of an organization where we have elders and mentors and people who've been part of lots of different movements that we look to, that we engage with, that we debate, that we struggle with, to be able to build the kind of trust and the kind of organization that we need. So I think that a lot of that, you really do learn it through being part of an organization. And that's why this campaign is so important. I mean, the only thing I was even going to say about Claudia with response to Cornell, like, we're not running against Cornell, we're running against the capitalist system, and people should have lots of different options and choices. But for us, it is what's very important to us, why I can speak for myself, I know for sure, decided to do such a thing like this, is that we want to train. We're training ourselves. We're training the next generation of leaders. And so we can't really just be quiet for this year while the experts drag us. One side wants to drag us back to the 1800s, and then the other side wants to drag us into nuclear war. And so, we actually do have to engage in this electoral politics, as kind of disgusting as it is, because it's a way for us to talk about, well, what is socialism? We don't want to just keep going around in circles and having other people mislead us into a direction that goes right back into the Democratic Party. And so the only way we're going to combat that is by speaking up ourselves too.
And I just want to say, it's particularly important right now because of the conditions in which we are, which you explained so clearly, Jackie, that it's an opening to be able to talk about socialism, to uplift socialist politics, because conditions are so dire. They're so, they are breathing so much despair that it's necessary to be bold and be courageous. People are waiting for that. People want that. And so what's at stake is our ability to be able to build people power. It's not about speaking truth to power. That shit is old and gone. Like, our people need to be the power. Our people need to have the economic, the political, and social power to build the society that we need. And how long are we going to wait to be able to make that intervention? And again, build the confidence of the working class to be able to understand that there is no such thing as a society if there's no workers.
But there is a crisis. There is, and for instance, we do need to wait one more election cycle because we have the looming fascism of Trump. Maybe we have to support Biden or whoever his robotic replacement is at some point. What
his undead corpse.
Yeah, I mean, but all jokes aside, so when I show this clip to my students, probably even later today, and somebody is there's gonna be one of these versions, but how are they going to get elected, and how is their election? How is voting for them going to help my neighborhood? How is it? And we've seen it here, even debated here on this platform before. And somebody will say, they'll point to some obscure policy that a Democrat passed that positively impacted one person in one out parcel in one community. And they'll say, see? But then these two want to come here and distract us from all of that. No, so what is the line just? Not that I don't mean to diminish it by saying just, but is the line sufficient to say we're carrying the socialist flag, we're defining this, we're extending the message, we're giving you an option? What is the response to that?
I mean, it's important to expose. And I appreciate you bringing that into the discussion, because I think people get it too. It's a shift in ideas. It's a shift in the way in which we perceive reality. Like, reality is that U.S. corporations have won, or have gained, have stolen $2.8 trillion in profits in just 6 months in this country. And we are in a crisis. We're talking about $2.8 trillion. The biggest corporations have done what is called share buybacks, which is basically buying their own shares so that their shares gain more value in the market. And they've spent $215 billion. When you talk to any regular person on the street that is living paycheck to paycheck, which is more than half of the population in this country, we should ask, what has the Democratic Party done for your ass lately?
Not the Janet Jackson line. Hit it with the Janet.
$30 billion to support, their government, like Ukraine. $30 billion. This is crazy, because it's not only funding war abroad, it's funding war in our neighborhoods. And this the lesser of two evil narrative has gotten old. We've been doing this. This has kind of been like, this is the most important elections of our time. Every year, every damn year is the same thing. And we need to know, and I always like the Albert Einstein quote, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different outcomes. What we haven't done in the last 60, 70 years is organize ourselves ideologically, politically, as a force to take power. And that has been intentionally done. And so to your students, or folks that say, like, we have to, that is having a deficient mentality. That is having the assuming the narrative of there is not enough. There is more than enough. The problem with this country is not that it doesn't produce enough. Not that it doesn't have enough wealth, is that it's mismanaged, misappropriated, and at the hands of a very small group of people who don't care about
society that don't care about poor and working class people, which are the majority of people in this country, the majority of people in the world. And so if we don't talk about power and how to build that power, we will remain negotiating our exploitation. And now if we want to continue to negotiate our exploitation, we could continue to say, out of fear, we're going to vote Democrat. Out of fear, we're not going to engage in this type of politics. But none of the people that we put on our walls, that we repost every time, that we say are our heroes, did shit out of fear. They did it out of courage, and they did it out of necessity, and they did it urgently because it was necessary. And so we need to kind of get a little bit more bold in how we address our people and how we encourage people to be bold too. We cannot act based on fear. That's what the capitalist state wants us to do. And if we continue to do that, we're going to continue to get crumbs. We don't want a seat at the table. We want the whole house because we've built it.
So let me jump in with a question. So like within the American context, like, so there's been other countries which have seized, let's say, some form of power through an electoral process. For the most part, radicals here have suggested that that's impossible, right? Capital, you're not going to be able to vote capital out of power. So, and I don't assume that you guys are social democrats, right? We're not assuming you're DSA and all that kind of stuff. So then what is behind the run for the presidency, as in, how does this help in terms of some of the things that you've even laid out? How does this help the working class, the everyday people seize power by participating in the electoral process, considering what a lot of us think, particularly about the American electoral process, where third parties are, knocked off of positions to ballot, or they're not given the attention, or they're sidelined, and so much money is given into sort of Tweedledee and Tweedledum of the Democrats and the Republicans. How does running for president and vice president build power for the working class?
Well, I think, Claudia, you can jump into, of course. We know that electoral politics is not it. Every 4 years or every 2 years, that's not going to build the kind of organizations that we need that are actually going to transform society, right? We know that those things, because we've studied history and we've seen how social movements are built. And so we need to build that independent political working class organization with our own program, that we need to be able to contest that the right wing, this narrative that we've heard our entire lives, of course, as long as there's a right wing candidate, then we all have to get in line and support the Democrats. No matter what, they are responsible for mass incarceration. They are responsible for endless wars. They're responsible for depriving poor women of access to abortion, like through the Hyde Amendment, like Joe Biden, whatever it is, because they take our people for granted. And like Claudia was saying, we're always going to be just asking for some scraps. Why should they be able to decide in the first place? Why should it even be up to them? We're never going to get there until we build those kinds of political organizations, like the Black Panther Party, like the Young Lords, like so many socialist organizations that existed throughout years. Those are the ways that you actually change society. It's by getting in the fight. And so we're saying that right now, whether we like electoral politics or not, people are paying attention to it. And we are not going to allow people like Joe Biden to just put us back to sleep. That man is putting himself to sleep, putting the whole, maybe sleepwalking us into a nuclear war. And so we're fighting for the consciousness of our people, of all those young girls who are woke and depressed, who feel like there's nothing else going on. We say, no, join a political organization. Let's fight. And it's not just about this or that election, but we need to build the kinds of organizations where we are actually building power, where we are actually taking over things, where we're fighting. But you can't go from zero to nothing by just willing it into existence. You have to walk with people through the path. The path of petitioning means you got to get out there and talk to people, and you got to defend yourself, and you have to, talk about why something else, and deal with the despair and the sadness and the challenges that people are living through. and be able to talk about something to bring people in. It means you got to get organized. You got to get your little task going. You got to organize an event at your school. You got to talk to people. We want to get that energy. We want to put that into something that will last. That's not just about this election cycle, but that's about joining a political organization where we can keep building power in our communities to actually take over them.
I wanted to jump in and just say, like, we have been conditioned to think about instant gratification, and that serves capitalism. If you think about food, just think about food. Instant food is never good for you. It has a whole bunch of stuff that you should not be eating. And I say that because it's the same thing with the capitalist mentality that whatever you do, you need to see instant results. That's not true to anything in life. You need to be able to build things for them to be sustainable, for them to be able to have the strength from the roots. And this is something that capitalists understand really well. They just don't want us to understand it really well. Because every time we actually wake up to understand the power of organizing, they find a way of crushing it, be it through their legal system, be it through their military and police force. It is important for us not to think about today or tomorrow alone, but to think about what are we doing today for 20 years ahead, because that's how capitalists think. That's how people who do business think. And the people who do business, those big corporations, are the ones that are running this country. And that's not to say, again, that we shouldn't have a short-term, a midterm, and long-term plan, but all plan goes to shit if we don't have a real assessment of the situation. And we're confronting a very sophisticated infrastructure, a very sophisticated, structure that has many years of thinking and planning on how they will keep the working class people beneath their boots. And so we have to do more strategic planning. We need to be able to do more tactical moves. This process of us engaging in elections is part of a larger strategy. If we only see it as something, if we see the election itself as a strategy, then we fail, because we know democracy in this country is a sham. We know that there are obstacles that are placed for people to get ballot access. We know that there's voter suppression in this country. We know that there's only those specific people that are allowed to engage in the big platforms in debates, and debates that have really nothing to do with the majority of people in this country, because it's theater. We see that every 4 years. And so if we're okay with seeing that every 4 years and not doing anything about it and standing in the sidelines, then we will continue to see that every 4 years till the day we die. And I don't think we want to do that. I think it's important, like, Cop City, for example, Kamal, community movement builders, you all have been at the forefront of that fight. You could petition, get signatures. You go and do that. And then they delay the validations of those signatures. And then they continue to put obstacles. And then that could easily demoralize people who don't understand struggle to be a long, long march. And we need to teach our people that struggle is a long march. And the only way that we've actually gotten what we've gotten is because there were those who marched before us and those who marched before them. It's a continuation. And so there's nothing in history, nothing in this country that has not been earned, if not by struggle. And if not by the interventions of communists of the 1930s and before them. And we've erased that history.
So is part of the practical call, is part of the call for practical steps then to have people, the tens of millions who will see this video and the ad, the promo videos you've created, is it to say, practically speaking, vote for us, and where we're not on the ballot, write us in?
Well, yeah.
And then join a local chapter of the PSL? Is it like a two-pronged or become at least a supporter in your area of PSL work? Is it that simple?
Jared, I
Because again,
think
I'm
you
thinking of my students. Like they're gonna say, what do I do? So go fill in the name, join it. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I think you could write the volunteer letter. Those points. You could be
Mhm.
the person that
Somebody just got a job on
we
the
just gave him
This
a
is why I
job.
sit quietly in meetings, because then you end up people put you to work. No, I'm sorry.
That's partially it, and Karina, you could jump in. I think one of the biggest things is to be able to get people activated. So yeah, join the campaign, volunteer, spread the word, coordinate an event, and also join us at the picket line. Go to Cop City in Atlanta, and be willing to face, the police and the systems there. Go to, where our comrades are fighting and striking everywhere in the South. Join the UAW strikes that are ahead. Join movements. Wherever there is movement and struggle, go there. And you will find PSL there. And you will also find other organizations, because that's a thing that we want to also make very clear. There are many organizations doing a lot of great things. And all of those organizations have a role in movement. And political parties have a role in movement too. One doesn't exclude the other. One is there to unify all of this motion that we call struggle. So yes, where we're not in the ballot, write our names in. When we are in the moment of petitioning, volunteer and do that work. But most importantly, join the struggle and join political organizations.
So
and I just think one thing to say to that too is just that it's gonna go. Politics is dynamic, and it's gonna go where we all take it. It's not gonna. It's gonna make the difference how we all get involved and what we do and how we intervene in these different struggles and how we take advantage of opportunities. And so where if it's gonna be on the ballot, if you put it on the ballot, and it's gonna be, and we're gonna grow as far as we can grow, depending on people's passion and on their commitment. And so I think we shouldn't think of it. People shouldn't think of it in a passive way. We're gonna build what we need to build the ship right before the storm, and so that's what we're trying to do. And we'll use every single instrument possible to do that. We've run in other campaigns before, and it wasn't that, oh, did you win? And is that the difference? It's like we learned a lot, and we trained leaders through that experience, through being out there, getting those signatures and doing all that stuff and all that fundraising and everything. So like those experiences are part of the development, the leadership development that has to happen for us to build the quality of leaders that we need to be able to overthrow the system.
But Claudia, we have been fighting this system since 1692. And everything we've tried hasn't worked. And you're just a small political party that most people haven't even heard of. And, dear God, you're socialist too. And what is it? What do you all think you're going to do to change this system? I mean, this is the kind of stuff, and I have to admit, it's the kind of stuff I hear all the time whenever somebody who does something to change the system does something. And this kind of criticism usually comes from people who are not doing anything, who are not organized in any way. They're not in any organizations. They're not organizing cats or, marsupials or anything. They're not organizing their sock drawers, but still, it is a criticism and people have the question. So I think it's fair to ask. I mean, what makes you think that you can change this system? How is your campaign going to do anything to change what we have not been able to change all this time?
I appreciate the question, because again, yes, it's something that I have come to in different spaces of organizing, and it's cynicism. People have become cynical, and that's also is a product of the system in which we live, where how do you think any of this could be changed? Or this is just what it is, and we just kind of have to put our heads down and keep going and just stay out of the way, because if we get too involved, then we might get hit, And again, that's I have to say that I like the fact that you followed that up by saying this usually comes from people who are not doing anything. We get courage, we get strength, we get bold when we are doing some shit. And when we're doing it with working class people, because for them it's urgent. For us, it's urgent. There's an urgency. Like, we can't wait for someone to decide, whether it be a Democrat or a Republican or any politician, to say we're going to eliminate student debt. Because they're not just going to do that shit out of their own goodwill. They're not going to do it. They're going to promise it because they've promised it, but they're not going to do it. Why? Because it's profitable. Debt is profitable. And it's another way of enslavement. And so if we don't do anything to change that condition, if we don't do anything to change that reality, most likely than not, we're going to continue to be indebted in different ways in a society that makes profit out of debt. And so we've been struggling, but we have gained. We have gained through struggle. The problem is that the elite, the capitalists, the ruling class have co-opted those movements and have conceded to be able to prevent actual revolution. The 2020 revolts, and you were talking about it earlier, Kamal, because I watch my show every morning. You were talking about it earlier in terms of like the celebrity movement, folks that come in, jump in, the fact that in the indictment, when folks are thinking about 2020, that's where the possibility of threat to the state actually comes out of George Floyd, the revolts that came after that. So they're paying attention and they feel threatened by people organizing themselves. That was like the height of protesting in the U.S. in 2020, where you had millions of people out in the streets. But there's counter-revolution and there's counter-insurgency, and there's many ways of doing that, through military force, but also through nonprofits, celebrity movement folks, the cooptation of movement. And then we say that those folks were the folks that won whatever advances came out of that time. And we have to revise our history really well. Whatever we have gained has not been because of a political party in this duopoly. It has not been because a certain politician has signed off and said, well, we were doing great. There are concessions to prevent 2020, to prevent Watts, to prevent Ferguson from happening again. Because that's what they fear the most, that people will come together and actually build revolution in this country. And so if we know that that's what they fear, why not do it?
Yeah, that's bars. If we know that's what they fear, why not do it? Is that on a shirt? Can I get that on a...
That needs to be the next.
That's going to be my next social media post. So
That's
as soon as I show off,
shirt.
I'll let you
Yep.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With no attribution, no
None at all. No
credit given.
No, never. No.
Speaking
never
of
that.
giving credit, we got to give credit to the web designer, votesocialist2024.com. And to the extent that theirs has been compared to other campaigns, I think folks might want to take notice of the website. Anyway, but yeah, so definitely follow up with this campaign at votesocialist2024.com. And yeah, I almost thought that was Jackie for a second as I was scrolling. I was like, Jackie in the promo? I was like, wow. I said,
Nobody wants that.
They don't want that. They don't want that. So anyway, but any last question or comment from anybody before we officially wrap up?
Yeah, how can people follow your campaign? Where do they go to learn more about your campaign, about PSL?
Hi.
Well, you showed our website. They can go to postsocialist2024.com and sign up there and be part of it and share and retweet and all that stuff and talk to us. Talk to us because we want to build with you. And there are other people that want to connect with you in those different cities. And that's what we're ultimately trying to do is build an organization. And so we're excited for all of the love and support we've gotten so far. We want to meet you. So please contact us and follow us and join the movement.
And we want to thank you. I love being with y'all. So, you know, my big hugs and love to Kalanji, who's not on, but who also reached out. So I really appreciate what y'all are doing and the level of like mass education, mass political education that you do on this.
Well, we need to get,
show.
we need I mean, you need to be back on repeatedly anyway. So,
I told you, just, you know,
so
this
whether,
so just holler.
Yeah, well, we will.
We were going to offer you a co-host spot, and then you went and did this.
That's what I'm saying. Like she backed out from the People's Forum a little bit. She backed away from BPM a little bit. We were like, "What's up? What's it?
Too small. I have
too
larger.
Small. I know.
Larger,
She's like,
y'all
small change. But we do definitely. I think it would be great if you all end up on Kalanji's show and other programs on the platform. Come back on the remix. We definitely want to follow the campaign. We've been having these, bi-weekly or bi-weekly. I mess that up all the time. With West. I think it'd be great if we had routine visits from you. And we got to get you on Sundays now too. We got to have the socialist music discussion. Like, we got to have a whole. We got to do the whole.
Finally get her soca mix.
So absolutely. And so Claudia, Karina, you're welcome back anytime. It was great to build with you. And good luck and thanks for doing the work.
True.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for doing the work too. Appreciate y'all.
Right on. All right, everybody. So peace to them. We're gonna let them bounce out. We got enough time to any concluding thoughts and to give Ear Doctor a chance to get his turntables warmed up because you owe us. You owe us.
Oh man.
You owe us, sir.
Who brought me up on the screen?
Oh, my bad. I saw you pop up. I was like, I thought, yeah.
I did love her answer. I love that. I mean, they both gave great answers, but that was a great shift to talk about organizing and joining organizations and the difference between an individual, like we talk a lot about an activist versus an organizer. So that was a great answer. Yeah.
And the PSL is serious. Like I've talked a little bit about it worked against me personally. Their policies and procedures for joining worked against me, but it was logical. It made perfect sense, and I actually think they're right in doing that. And I really appreciate hearing that we're doing this at having submitted ourselves in a positive way to an organization. And that's why we're doing this work. We're not just out here. It was perfect.
Yeah. Got my vote.
Oh, really now?
They don't have my vote yet because we haven't had the BPM hosted West PSL debate.
Okay.
I need the debate first.
Okay.
They got to win the debate on this platform first. Now, come on now. My vote is precious. You can't just be giving it away.
I just be giving mine away.
Yeah, you just be handing it out. You got to win the BPM 2024 presidential debate.
Has Cornell talked about a vice president person?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
And we asked him, Daruba asked him to have Mumia be it.
That would be, I think that would actually be perfect.
But he did a
he ducked and died. He died.
Yeah, he
hit him with that Floyd Mayweather defense.
Talked about Coltrane. His answer was about Coltrane.
Yeah. And the comment from that person that you rightfully blocked, Jared, earlier. Half of that was actually not true. From what I know, what's the other one? David Brock is not involved in Dr. West's campaign at all.
David Brock?
Yeah.
Was that the claim?
I don't know. That's the claim. Now, from what I understand, Peter Dow is He's on the campaign doing something. I think it's some technical thing. He's not actually a campaign manager. I don't know, but I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy about that at all.
Yeah.
But the David Brock thing, so the Peter Dow thing, as far as I know, that is true in some regard. But the David Brock thing is absolutely not true. And
okay, well,
Yeah,
everybody stay
exactly.
tuned. Just keep it
Mhm.
locked. Make sure you got the bell rung. Be back here tomorrow morning. And please come back in a few minutes for my chapter 2 breakdown, and come back at 12 for Confronting Contradictions with Coco. And make sure, like I said, make sure the bell's rung, because I don't know what else is coming, but there's a lot. It's a lot. So
let's do it. Tomorrow morning we will be back. Make sure y'all here 8 a.m. in the morning. All right, we out of here. Let's go. Let's go, y'all. Come on.
I annihilate as I articulate words of power. Your rhymes are uncompounded, so deaf's your fate. Ostentatious genius of rapping is mentally clapping to take hip hop back. That's what's happening. Proficiency and ingenuity, plus more styles than a Shaolin monastery. In poetry, my formula's deadly. Bring the highest man in your army, another casual.
Welcome to the underground where hardcore niggas are found. We're beating niggas down, make you world renowned. Where a street beef set off once, never forgiven. Where real niggas never give up. We fugitive and that's how we be living. When niggas vibe on the raw shit, come out your face fucked up and get your jaw split. We pick your teeth up, put them on a string like bones, and send your punk ass home alone. I got stock in this microphone, your innuendos, and get you beat the fuck up and play like Nintendo. Maybe smoke like your hydro endo. You niggas is hookers. I hit you with the 4-pound cookers.
5 Carlos deep, time to go to a show. Got massive crew, and we're ready to roll. So I grab my gear, hop in the whip and ride. Premiere's got the fly dope system inside, but my shit cranks too. And we got mad tapes of all the underground groups with the lyrics and bass. Off into the New York night we go. Dre Lodge got the camera, biggest cords got 3 rolls of film, so we can take the macked out photos. Tommy Hills, the Damager, and my man Gusmo. Corey and Smurf, and Little Dab's got a 40. My man Gary and Shiz, and the Nutcracker Shorty, Mike Drone. Chillin' like Capone, Robin Hood known as Mel with the clientele. Mo, JT Mega, and can't forget Black, Big Rob and Sincere. Yes, the posse's fat. Out Loud pulls up, plus this in OC. Big Mel from Strong Eye, NHL, the one and only. Oh, delicious Eli, Baz, Eon. And the aroma of the blunts has me thinking beyond. And to the rest of the crew, you know the bond is strong. And you know who's who, so let me not prolong. For this was a night to remember. I had on the bass Timbs with the 2-tone leather. So we get to the jam, the gig, the venue. Then we circled around and then drove into the front. The place was packed, the line was long. I was bobbing my head because the music was on.
Speaking of Steve Biko, once again, welcome out to No Other Than the Remix Morning Show as we do it up for you and yours.
Linden Boulevard, represent, Zen Tribe Called Quest, represent, Zen. The mic is in my hand, I'm never hesitant. My favorite jam back in the day was Every Beat for President.
Let's go.
Rude boy composer, step to me, you're over. Brothers wanna flex, you're not Mad Cobra. MC short and black, there ain't no other. Trinity born bad like Nia Long's grandmother. Tippin' shot they all that, pipe dog ditto. Honey, tell your man to chill, or else you'll be a widow. Did not you know that my style's a top dollar? The 5-foot assassin, I can fleas off his collar. Hip-hop scholar, since being the hot to a duck. The height of Muggsy Bogues, complexion of a hockey puck. You better ask somebody on how we flip the script. Come to a tribe show and watch the 3 kids rip.
Taste the chocolate.
Let's go.
I want something different. I want something slam.
As we keep it going,
what's the slam in this flavor?
we talk about native tongues.
Yo,
We talking about hip hop. 50 years, we still celebrating, y'all. Right here on BPM. Let's go.
For a second, I reckon I got you double checking. Then again, when to your needs did I beckon? Hold me only if you wanna get naked. Play me for the crowd only if you wanna wreck it. The name is Drez, like silk I get slick. Drop rhymes like a bass head, big flicks. Constantly, yes, it's me, D-R-E-S. So yes, I guess unless you're fast, you can get down to serious business with this. I never boned a honey that I didn't like.
Say what?
I never saw a mile that I couldn't hike.
Let's go.
I never had a spliff to make me choke. I never had a pocket that was broke. Hate no one but love only a few. Franklin Grant and yeah, Mom too. I run buck wild for self but with the crew, but then again, I thought you knew. Now I hear the voice. Is it what you want? I hope it is, kid. You're the flavor of the month. I heard you got the fever for the flavor. I heard you got the fever for the flavor. I heard you got the fever for the flavor.
Somebody said you had it going on.
Much more. We got much more for you. Coming right here tomorrow morning.
Y'all care anymore about this hip hop, man?
Do y'all?
I mean, how far will you punk motherfuckers go for 15 seconds of fame? Microwave popcorn ass niggas.
Oh man.
Yeah, we give you much more. Longevity, baby. Hey, yo, Dave.
Yo, it's been instilled in me since infinite, y'all. Using these minutes like I value the call. Put your money in the bank and hold rank over friends who ain't got leadership skills. I got the sheep in my eyes,
And
so
we
I
out
can't
here,
sleep.
y'all.
We like to land and lay the brand old way. Grand operate the scandal way. L.I. Shice. I play the Xbox instead of fucking with dice.